Good morning, everybody. This is Panama Bartholomew with the Building Decarbonization Coalition, and welcome to our Building Decarbonization Coalition Presents webinar series. Today, we are graced by Kevin Clark from Rheem, who's going to be talking about the new Rheem Proterra. And we're calling this edition Save Today, Save Tomorrow, and you're going to find out why when you hear from Kevin. So welcome. Just a reminder, a little bit of background on the coalition and why we do these webinar series. The coalition is a group of, it's a cross-sectoral group of organizations that are working on eliminating emissions from the built environment through both policy solutions and market partnerships. It's, as you can see, a number of the organizations that are members of our coalition are represented on the screen, but we have energy providers, utilities, community choice aggregators, the design and construction community, manufacturers, local governments, NGOs, and other randoms are all members of the coalition, and we all work together under the belief that by working together, we can get more done than if we are all working apart on building decarbonization. Back in 2019, which seems like a decade ago now, we adopted a roadmap for how California should carry out the decarbonization of its buildings. And we called for a number of numerical goals to be reached. That by 2025, we've adopted a state code that calls for zero emission residential buildings. And by 2028, a similar code for commercial buildings. We called for retrofit programs through incentives and regulations to be put in place so that it gets us on a path towards the total elimination of emissions from the built environment by 2045 in California. And inherent in that was a recognition that really two of the most important technologies for space heating and for water heating, we're going to need to be dramatically increasing the share of sales for high efficiency electric units over gas units, so that by 2030, we can't really be expecting to be selling gas units in California and still expect to meet our 2045 carbon neutrality goals. And so we adopted similar goals and recommended those to California for 100% of sales for the high efficiency electric models for those two end uses. In exploring those numerical goals, we also recognize that a number of other more market-based goals were going to need to be achieved to be able to reach those targets. And you can see them up on the screen, but in short, it was significantly increasing awareness of the benefits of electrification, ensuring that customers and then delivery agents, such as builders and installers, are having a good value proposition from decarbonization. That the supply chain is a partner in this process, and that we're adopting clear standards with a viable timeline, so that the supply chain has time and the ability to be able to ramp up in order to meet those targets, and that we've gotten barriers to the supply chain out of the way as well. And then lastly, that we're aligning all of our policies so that the four previous goals are able to be met and we don't have policies conflicting with each other. This webinar series fits clearly under that first goal, and it's one of the various attempts that the coalition uses in order to increase awareness. You know, this webinar series is generally focused on professionals that work in this field in order to be able to bring in some of the top thinkers, top doers, top companies and organizations that are working at the cutting edge of building decarbonization, to let them talk to the community about what they're working on and where we're going. And so I'll introduce Kevin in a second, but just as a reminder of some webinar logistics, everyone is muted as you come in. I think you're all pretty familiar with Zoom at this point. Please ask your questions via chat, and we'll keep track of the questions, and we'll ask Kevin to answer those questions at the end. We may unmute you if you want to be able to have you ask it directly. This webinar is being recorded, so act appropriately. And then members of the coalition can access the recording on the website, on our coalition website after it's done. We usually post it within 24 hours, as well as the slide deck.
webinar.
Sorry here, Peter, we got you background noise. I muted you there. So members of the coalition can access the recordings, and you get a lot of other great benefits from being a member. And so we encourage you, if you're not a member yet, please do consider joining. We have great benefits, and it's a great community to be a part of if you want to be talking with others who are on the cutting edge of building decarbonization. So you can join us by going to buildingdecarb.org/join and see about those benefits, as well as membership rates. So we're really excited to have Kevin from Rheem here. Rheem, they're a global manufacturer of heating equipment, not just water heating, but also space heating. And it seems like every time I talk to them, there's other things they manufacture that I wasn't aware of and I'm excited about. And in this webinar series, we have all sorts of different organizations and individuals come in, and every now and then a new product comes on the market, and we want to highlight that product because of its significant role that it's going to play in decarbonization, not only in California, but really across the country. And so Kevin is going to be talking today about one of those new product offerings that Rheem is just bringing to the market. And then we also asked Kevin to give some perspective to what's going on in California, across the West, and in North America on building decarbonization from their perspective. It's a really unique perspective of having an international corporation that's engaged in manufacturing equipment to be able to give that perspective. And I think he's going to offer some really interesting insights about what he's seeing. Kevin, he's in charge of the West. So he has very hot territory this week. And he handles both the builders and the utilities for Rheem. So he's got everybody out here in the West. He lives in Las Vegas, where he's joining us from today. And besides being a fantastic person on sales for Rheem and industry partnerships, he's also a great father of four and a fantastic husband. So Kevin, I'm going to stop sharing now and let you share your deck. And thank you for joining us today. And everybody, please give a warm Building Decarbonization Coalition welcome to Kevin from Rheem. Thank you, Kevin. Take it away.
Thanks, Panama. I appreciate it. You did give me an extra child, so I don't know if that's good or bad.
Oh, you haven't heard?
Yeah, no. This comes as a shock to me, so we'll see how we can get through it now. But yeah, I am in Las Vegas. We're at a nice, comfortable 113 degrees today. So of course, our utilities are asking us to conserve power across our area. I'm sure a lot of the West Coast is going through the same thing. But before we get started on Proterra, I just wanted to thank the coalition in Panama and their efforts to really drive this initiative and make sure that we can get some market awareness for products, efficiency products like the heat pump water heater. So I always like to start with this slide. Rheem is in a unique position. As Panama mentioned, we do create a lot of different products through a family of brands. And good part is when we're talking about homeowners, we have the potential really to touch about 2/3 of the homeowner's electric bill, both in the water heat and HVAC systems. So, water heating, not the sexiest topic in the world. Consumers usually only consider their water heater when it leaks. So that's, once every 10 years. But really a big importance should be placed upon the water heater because it is the second highest energy user in the house when you look at a national perspective. When you flip it over to the state perspective, people move to California because it's nice. They don't need to run their HVAC very often. So all of a sudden, the water heat and the HVAC kind of flip. Water heating being the #1 energy user in the house, now all of a sudden more importance needs to be placed on that technology to make sure they're saving money on their energy bills. They're aligning with the electrification goals that the state has. Also, Rheem launched the sustainability goals last year. So we have a quick video just to explain what Rheem is doing in the marketplace and how we are partnering with our trade allies and with the builders on a sustainability message point of view.
At Rheem, we are proud to make bold commitments for 2025 to dramatically reduce our impact on the environment. We are committed to addressing the labor shortage and increasing training needs facing our industry, and we see a future with zero waste in the use and manufacturing of our products. That's why we are designing for zero waste. We are reimagining our products to slash greenhouse gas emissions, refining our processes to drastically reduce our carbon footprint and landfill waste, all while training plumbers and contractors on how to install, monitor, and maintain sustainable products to perform as efficiently as possible. From the very beginning, we've integrated sustainable thinking into everything we do. And as the leader of a global family of brands, we will deliver greater performance while contributing to something greater than ourselves. Creating solutions that truly make a difference. Delivering a greater degree of good.
So again, all those goals align with our 100-year birthday coming up in 2025, and pretty aggressive goals. Obviously we were on a good track. We have 4 ILCs in the United States. Those are innovative learning centers where we bring in about 20 contractors at a time, providing 2 sessions a week to 40 contractors. And really, we give them a hands-on experience with efficient product, how to install it, how to sell it, how to service it. And of course, as COVID has caused us to react to that, we've pivoted quite well to a virtual platform, very much like this. And so we have our master plumbers still have contact with thousands of plumbers every single month. They do that on reamtraining.com or with our sales agencies or assets like myself, regional assets for Rheem. So, obviously this product aligns very well with our sustainability goals. It's going to reduce that carbon by, 75% because it's going to use 75% electricity. So really this product has 3 pillars of attributes that we want to point out. First, that it's going to be smart. It's going to be sustainable, and it's going to provide savings for the homeowner. So this is already our 5th generation heat pump water heater since 2009. So we've obviously taken great steps in efficiencies and consumer features to make this product very desirable once a consumer gets wind of it. So we've had leak detection in the past with our units. We've taken it one step forward and added an integrated shutoff valve. And really what that does is it detects the leaks and prevents the leak. We put integrated Wi-Fi in every single unit across the line. That way they can have remote control with their phone. They can get compressor and element health alerts. That way they can schedule planned service calls instead of emergency service calls, which tend to cost a lot more. And a new feature is also the hot water availability. Homeowner can get on the app and figure out if they have enough hot water to take that last shower, which is a nice feature. So on the consumer side, anybody that's had a leak in their garage knows that that peace of mind is pretty big. So if we can actually prevent a leak in a tank to only about 20 ounces of water by creating a vacuum, it's something of value. So this is really just to demonstrate how that works. Once water hits the drain pan and hits that cord that's wrapped 360 degrees around the bottom of the unit, it will turn the shutoff valve, have an alarm go off on the control board, and the homeowner will get an alert on their cell phone to come pay attention to that system. So again, a good notification, good peace of mind for the consumer. And when we do consumer interviews, this is something that's very, very highly thought of. We also changed the board. The previous board, which was a touch screen, tended to be a little bit harder to use. from our consumer interviews. So we changed it to a push button, which allows for easier access and functionality. So there's just some of the controls that it has now. On the app, we're continuing to update this app and be able to add features and benefits that the consumers are looking for. Of course, you can schedule this for time of use, which I'll get into in a little bit. You can get energy usage reports. You can change the mode and the temperature. And of course, you can get those product health alerts, which are pretty handy. Scheduling, California will be in some sort of time of use scheduling in the near future, if you're not already, if you have solar on the roof. But this is going to maximize, really the savings for a high efficiency product by allowing the consumer to program it like their HVAC system. So they know that in between the times of 4 and 9, that electricity is going to be very expensive. So they can run their own in-house demand response program with the EcoNet app. Again, usage reports just show how much money they're saving on a weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. And this is what those health alerts look like. Second pillar is going to be, it's a very sustainable product. It's going to be the highest efficient product in the market with up to a 4 UEF. And again, as energy production gets cleaner and cleaner, obviously both sources will drive down to 0 once California is on 100% renewables. But until that point, we're going to use 75% less carbon in energy production just by switching to a heat pump water heater. When you take a look at it in solar panels, 2.5 panels to power a heat pump water heater as opposed to 10. So unless you're willing to pave your sidewalks with solar panels, this just makes a really easy transition, especially as homes are starting to require solar on the roof for new construction. And of course, the real reason why people switch and change technologies is going to be the savings that it's going to provide. Again, this is a national perspective, just looking at a new water heater as opposed to a heat pump water heater. It's going to save, on average, net national average, about $300 a year. Of course, again, California not being the average, kind of take a look at all technologies based off of a low TOU rate and the gas rate that's out there. And again, because of its ultra high efficiency, this is the most affordable option to use. Now, again, there are some assumptions there. I am programming that water heater around time of use. I, of course, had to do that the same thing with the electric tankless and the regular tank type products. But, again, this is going to offer a lot of savings from the get-go, not only for the users, current users of electric tank type products, but also gas products. If you have customers out there in a propane territory, obviously this is a no-brainer for them. They're going to, have an immediate impact on the savings. They should be able to see a break-even point within a couple of years by switching to this technology.
Kevin, the video is not actually advancing.
That's the beauty sometimes of virtual trainings. You can actually find that video on rheem.com/hybrid. So you can view that video, get some spec sheets and some product information if you're interested there. So in case you haven't been on one of these presentations and heard how heat pumps work, this is getting pretty routine, especially in a territory that doesn't see a lot of heat pumps. But it's pretty easy. Basically, it's running ambient air over an evaporator coil to heat up the refrigerant. That refrigerant is compressed and superheated, and exchanger coils are wrapped around the outside of the tank in order to exchange that heat. And again, that process of moving heat, not creating heat, allows that system to be over 400% efficient. It's a very common process we use in a lot of different applications throughout the house and in our cars. So again, this is not a scary technology at all. This is something that everybody touches and feels and uses on a day-to-day basis. It's been around for a long time. I mean, if you look at how many refrigerators are sitting out in the garage keeping beverages cool, I can bet that there's lots of them, and they're probably 20-year-old refrigerators. Also new to the Proterra line is that we introduced a 40-gallon model. So really keeping the electrification in mind in California, especially in the multifamily segment. We made this model a couple of inches skinnier. That way it can fit into that closet. And of course, with zero space clearances, we can get into more closets with tight installation footprints. If you are in a closet, we just ask that you either get a louver door or duct that product. We did, as I mentioned, redesign the board, and we do have some nice test modes and diagnostics for the contractors to work on this unit. That way they're not carrying around large, bulky, contractor manuals in order to service this. And new to this year on the Proterra and the Proterra with leak guard models is we added a CTA 2045 connector. So this native port will allow a module just to plug right into there to receive signals for a utility. So we have a couple of different paths on demand response. We can use that CTA module as mentioned before, but we've also had in the market a lot of utilities go through our cloud-based system and communicate to the water heaters through EcoNet. And that is our Rheem's proprietary communication system, both on our water heating equipment and our HVAC equipment. So during a demand response event, either through the integrated Wi-Fi, with the EcoNet, or through the CTA module, you can do a variety of different commands depending on what part of the day the utility is at, and really what they need to do. So you can do peak shaving events, you can do energy storage events, or grid emergency events, which really turn the unit in vacation mode. So right now, I'm sure in California, they would love to have this type of asset, because they can use it as a thermal storage battery. So they're storing the excess solar during the middle part of the day and be able to, avoid those peaks both in the morning and in the afternoon when people are utilizing hot water. So even though it's increasing overall load, it'll be important for California to be able to utilize this asset for the load exactly when they need to use it. We also have an integrated solution for JA13 for new construction. Basically, that allows a home builder to receive extra EDR credit in the Title 24 software to be able to throw a schedule to a heat pump water heater. And as long as a mixing valve is installed, they can throw that rate in there, time of use rate, and then the machine will go through some load up and shedding features automatically. Good part is, the homeowner will never have to mess with this or enroll in a type of a program. and it is ready to go from day one when the homeowner moves in. So a good asset. Looking forward to seeing that in the calculator, the Title 24 calculator later on this year. Typical modes of operation, again, energy saver mode is what it's shipped in. So it's going to utilize primarily the heat pump, which can get up to a 1700 watt equivalent. So very slow recovery rate, but obviously very efficient. If need be, if there's a lot of usage on the water heater at one time, it can also operate with a 4500 watt element. So in that case, we can get up to 6200 watts of recovery, which is more than a standard electric water heater. That's why we have higher first hour ratings than standard electric water heaters have. We're adding more to the market. So we have a true good, better, best solution for the plumber to offer to the homeowner. And we're starting that with the builder lineup. This is a NEA Tier 3 rated product. It will have built-in Wi-Fi and JA13 scheduling. It will have the availability to add leak detection, which is something new. And of course, it'll have that 40-gallon capacity. So moving up into the product lineup with the Proterra, that's when you can add the leak sense and the leak guard. So that way you can have that shut-off feature. This is actually going to be a NEA Tier 4 rated product, which is the only ones out in the market with that NEA Tier 4 rating. Again, all these will be the quietest in the class at less than 50 dBA. And obviously the Cadillac is going to be the Proterra with leak guard, which has those features shipped in the box with them. Again, those simple add-on kits can be either ordered online or purchased directly from the installer, and we have those kits already available. This is a bit of an eye chart because we have so much going on. In the Proterra lineup, we not only keep our standard 30 amp models, but we have 15 amp models available today, especially for those gas to electric retrofits. So we've seen a lot of that in multifamily applications where they may be a little bit energy constrained. And a lot of times it's not even so much at the panel level in the unit, it's really the transformer level outside of the building. So that availability of only having a 15 amp service is important for them. And of course we have the builder models as well. So, you know, the Rheem and Rude each have 16 SKUs available for the distributor to stock and be able to sell into the marketplace through the plumber. Now, just to give obviously a little background, this is kind of an old slide and needs to be updated, but you know, you can kind of see the writing on the wall, which is California is not the only state that is looking at electrification or some type of renewable program putting in its energy profile. So using assets like a heat pump water heater will provide the beneficial electrification products they need in order to control their grids. And as we all know, SB 100 moves to a carbon-free economy by 2045. Heat pump rebates, and I believe this is both heat pump water heaters and heat pump HVAC, as you can see, already blanket the country as far as rebates go. So, you know, again, from a utility perspective, this is nothing new. You can kind of see those gold areas in the Northwest and the Northeast where we see a lot of traction with those utility rebates really driving the market. This does need to be updated to reflect Southern California Edison's $1,000 instant rebate. And so we should get that updated here soon. This is, of course, not going unnoticed by the Natural Gas Association. This is their list of identified cities that are looking towards either modifying new construction code to make it much harder to put natural gas into new construction. So, you know, these are identified by the gas industry. And of course, we're already seeing some of those cities already fall and create that code either in REACH codes or in building codes. Title 24, this year has been the first year that at least heat pump water heaters can be considered in a mixed fuel home. We kind of get equal footing from a condensing tankless standpoint. Moving forward, builders obviously need to put that electrical infrastructure in, even if they are not utilizing a heat pump water heater. But, we're hoping obviously with the reduced infrastructure costs and install costs that a heat pump provides, some of these builders will start to be able to convert to heat pump water heaters shortly. There's no venting that is required, so there's less trades when you're putting these heat pump water heaters in. And we're seeing some builders take note. Obviously, the extra JA13 credit will help kind of push them over the edge, because there is a value to those EDR credits that a builder needs to have in order to meet code. And marketing, there's builders out there that obviously market to an efficient home, either like KB Homes for the annual savings that it provides with its efficiency, or if maybe it's a HERS rating, or if it's a Energy Star rating. So there's lots of different benefits in having high performance homes being marketed into the to homeowners. So that's really what I had. I wanted to leave some time for questions, but again, as we see some of these markets fall, we've had some consumer interviews and plumber interviews. Most of them aren't necessarily aware of the electrification goals that are going on in California, but they're excited to hear more about them and learn about them. They feel like they are wanting to pay it forward and be able to do their part in decarbonization. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel there, but obviously a lot of work needs to be done to educate the market on products like heat pump water heaters and heat pump HVAC, because consumers and plumbers just aren't very aware of them. So with that, I'll leave it open to questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. This is Panama again with the coalition. Thank you very much. Really exciting new product unveiling. Thank you guys for bringing it to the market, and it's exciting to see you guys, recognizing the trend of what we're seeing and bringing the type of products we're going to need in order to be able to meet all of our clean energy and clean air goals. So I'm very much appreciative of Rheem's leadership there. So we got a bunch of questions coming in. I'm going to read off some of them, and then I'm going to ask Jose at Edison to talk about their rebate program in a second as well. So Jose, heads up. So a question from Danny Tam at the Energy Commission. And Danny, I just got to give you a shout out. Kevin talked about the J13 standard, which, as he mentioned, is a way for builders, new home builders, to be able to get credit for installing a grid-ready heat pump water heater in their new construction units. And Danny was the leader within the Energy Commission who really shepherded this through. So thank you, Danny, for your leadership at the Energy Commission in getting that done. Danny wanted to ask you, Kevin, what percentage of your water heater sales currently are heat pump water heaters? And are you seeing any kind of shift going on in those numbers?
Obviously, it's still a very low percentage of the market. Predominantly across the country, you're looking at more tank type products, both in gas and electric. I don't have an exact percentage, but it's still a very that transformation really hasn't happened yet in a lot of markets. So you look at Maine is probably the best example. I mean, they're selling 10,000 units a year in a very small state. So you've seen that market transform through a lot of rebates. Of course, they have a lot of oil heating, which tends to be very expensive. So you switch them over to a cheaper fuel, like a heat pump water heater. It makes it a good fit. Areas where they have a lot of electric water heaters in the field have seen some startings of transformation. But, again, those percentages are still very small. In California, between natural gas and propane is a 90+ gas market. So it's just starting here. It's very little one-offs. We're seeing some, combinations with solar outfits. It makes a good combination to have solar on the roof with a heat pump in the garage.
Yep.
So we're seeing some of those combinations. Jose actually just told me about Santa Monica yesterday, requiring a heat pump water heater installation when they're doing solar. So again, good opportunities to, attach to other electrification processes that are a little bit more adopted.
Great, thank you. So we had quite a bit of conversation on the chat about rebates. And so Jose, in a second, I'm going to ask you to unmute, but there are going to be about $400 million of rebates rolling out over the next 9 months across California. That's going to be a combination of statewide programs like the self-generation incentive programs, utility-based programs, and then community choice aggregator programs and local government programs. So we keep a running list of all of the rebates and programs that are coming up at the Building Decarbonization Coalition. But really one of the leaders in this space is Edison. So Jose, could you speak to what you guys are working on heat pump water heaters, please, in your territory?
Certainly. So we've launched a $1,000 per unit incentive, and the incentive is at the manufacturer level. And what we're really trying to do is incentivize the manufacturers to be able to provide discounted product to their distribution channels and to their resellers, so that contractors and installers could, for lack of better words, back up their truck and load up the equipment at a discounted rate, so that when they make that presentation to their customer, they can offer to sell that equipment at that discounted rate without the contractor installer having to float the additional cost of a heat pump water heater, and without the end user consumer having to fill out a typical rebate application, mail it in, and wait for that rebate check to come down the line. So we want it to be as instantaneous as possible. And that's the model that we've been, utilizing. COVID actually, obviously put a damper in some of our training plans and trying to, get out to market as quickly as we would have liked. But, one of the challenges that we are finding is with the lack of installers that are trained and versed and are willing to promote the technology. So, we had a pretty good discussion with Rheem yesterday. They're being very proactive in cold calling and reaching out to installers and trying to bring them into their training centers to get them versed. But we've had a number of situations where we do have customers that are interested, but identifying a qualified installer is still the challenge. So that's our biggest challenge for marketing the technology right now.
Yeah, I mean, having some pull through is always the pull through marketing to the consumer. That way they are aware of it, to ask the plumber is a big driver for the plumber to go out and get educated. Because if he has no idea what a customer is asking for, the first time he may or may not seek out some information, but the second time he's sure as heck going to reach out for some training on a product, because he knows that job is going to be won by a plumber that is familiar and being able to quote it adequately. So, I mean, we have, obviously with this product launch and just our normal training activities, being able to approach the market and introduce them to heat pump water heaters, have them look for good opportunities to install these, and, maybe ask them to look at it from their business model point of view. If they have a separate team going out talking to consumers, maybe partnering with a solar installer, partnering with electrical contractors if they don't have one in-house, to be able to run that 30 amp service over to the water heater.
Yeah, so I agree with Kevin that the push-pull approach is definitely important. And we have a couple of marketing campaigns that we have just around the corner. We partner with Energy Star, and we have some web banners that we plan on hosting here locally through some of the different trade organizations at city jurisdiction sites. Also, we have an email campaign that we're planning again, co-branded with Energy Star to promote heat pump water heaters and our incentives, along with the available tax credits, and then also the annual savings that a customer could gain from that. So we plan on getting that out in the next 30 days. So hopefully we can generate that interest from the market and really drive the installers to get the appropriate training so that they're there when the customers are in need.
That's a great, thank you, Jose. That's a great segue actually to the next question, which is, how can installers get training on these and other heat pump water heater units, Kevin?
From a Rheem perspective, we go about it, like I said, in a lot of different ways. Rheemtraining.com is a great way to visit and set up a schedule for a training session with one of our master plumbers. They can also view a canned presentation any time of day. So there's some recorded sessions on there that they can jump on and learn about it. More than likely, they're probably going to reach out to their distributor. And that's where we have relationships with distribution to get those trainings put in place either at the distributor site or at the plumber site. Now, of course, with COVID, a lot of that activity is being handled through our sales agency, Mega Western. So they are going out and visiting customers and performing those trainings, or they can bring one of the Rheem folks in on a virtual session.
Great. Thank you. A question about vacation mode. Have you updated the vacation mode controls to allow the minimum tank temperature to be maintained with a heat pump rather than electric resistance mode?
I would have to get back to you on that. I believe that the vacation mode would maintain that with the heat pump, if I'm not mistaken, unless certain environmental conditions are not met, like an ambient air temperature.
Okay, great. That was from Benjamin Knopp, so we'll put you guys in touch. Peter Turnbull had a question. It's like he said about the modes, and it seemed like what he was taking from your presentation is that the model can operate in resistance mode and heat pump mode at the same time.
Correct.
All right.
So UL allows 80% of the circuit. So that's about 30 amps, or I'm sorry, about 25 amps. So when you look at a 4,500 watt element and the compressor, which is running at about 350 watts, we have enough energy to do both.
Great. In the apartment closet installation that you showed, when you talk about the 40 gallon, what is the impact on the apartment space heating or cooling heat pump performance load? And is all of the air intake exhaust from inside or from the exterior preferred?
So obviously Northern Climate Utilities had an issue with this, 10 years ago when they started to incentivize heat pump water heaters. So they've, taken it upon themselves to study it and understand a little bit better. Very much like how your refrigerator puts heat into the house, this water heater will be putting cool dehumidified air into the living space if it is in that living space without ducting. It's about 1/3 of a ton compressor, so it's a pretty small compressor, and it will run probably for a couple of 2-3 hours for a full recovery. So during that time, in a smaller closet, say a 7 by 10 by 10, 700 cubic foot closet, it will drop that temperature about 4 degrees while it's running. And then it will revert back to the original temperature within a few minutes after shutoff. So, again, it will have a heating impact. It's not very large, or else Northern Climate Utilities would not incentivize these so highly. Again, they studied it. They figured out that there's not much value of ducting these to the outside. Southern utilities have studied it, hoping for the cooling benefit. And they found the same thing. It really doesn't have a drastic impact on the envelope of the house. So you really can't use it as an air conditioner for a space. So if you're looking for, making your laundry room cool, don't expect the heat pump water heater to do it all day long.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, I got mine in my basement, and it helps with keep the wine chill down there, but it doesn't freeze them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the big benefit to HVAC, you know, and your basement is that it will dehumidify, right?
Yep.
So that dehumidification process will actually help the HVAC system run more efficiently. So there are some trade-offs with the cool air in the winter time, and of course in the summertime it's nothing but a benefit.
Great. There's a question about sharing the slides, and as Ashley, our operations manager, said, the slides and the recording from today will be placed in our member portal. So members of the coalition will have access to both the slides and the presentation. If you are not a member, Kevin's information is on the screen, so he may be willing to share it with you if you contact him. And then Jennifer, could I Jennifer West, could I unmute you? You can talk about the BayREN program.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we're thrilled that there are two programs running kind of hand in hand here in the Bay Area. One started in March, and that is the BayREN Home Plus program, which is offering $1,000 per heat pump water heater throughout the 9 counties. And then starting at the end of May, we have a direct-to-contractor midstream incentive program of $1,000 as well. And that covers 6 of the counties, soon to be 6, right now 5. So that's CCAs, EBCE, MCE, and Clean Power SF, who have chipped in $1,000 per heat pump water heater and can be combined with the Home Plus. So we have actually information session scheduled for September 2nd for plumbers in the area. Like Kevin was mentioning, that's kind of a need, is to make sure that plumbers are aware of these opportunities. So Jeffrey Liang at BayREN is promoting that, and we would love Kevin to be able to distribute that September 2nd webinar to your folks through your distributors here in the Bay Area as well. Get as many people aware of these 2 programs as possible. And I want to mention there are a total of 8 programs in the Bay Area. Sonoma Clean Power, thanks, I see Christine Condon just put that in. Silicon Valley Clean Energy, San Jose, Alameda Municipal Power. There are a total of 8, and I actually have a really handy heat pump water heater incentive cheat sheet for our contractors that should be going live either tomorrow or next week on our website. So I stuck our website in the chat for folks if you're interested, bayren.org/HPWH. So yeah, those 8 programs are there. Not all of them are going to be long-term, but we're trying to get the market moving and paying attention to heat pump water heaters here. So glad to work with Rheem on that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, we've been obviously directing a lot of our contractors to that program to get some more awareness of how they can really bring this to the marketplace. And those 2 rebates are, you know, phenomenal. They really do help the first cost barrier that we see when converting from gas to electric water heat.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. Thank you for your leadership too.
Yeah, thanks for the chance.
Pulling it all together. Question from Joshua about refrigerants, Kevin. Does Rheem have refrigerant types other than R410 or R134A in your roadmap?
So yeah, right now we do use R134A in our heat pumps. It has a pretty good heat transfer value there. For the future, obviously, we, you know, being a HVAC and water heating company, we pay attention to a lot of the codes that are coming down the pike. So there obviously will have to be changes. But, you know, I'm the wrong person to ask on what those changes will be.
Great. Thank you for that. A question from Jim Lutz. Any ability to optimize operations to prioritize electricity consumption during PV production? And then how does Rheem integrate mixing valves with the Proterra controls? Could it be a do-it-yourself add-on?
Yeah, so currently right now it is an add-on where you would just install the mixing valve to the cold and hot water side. As far as optimizing, yeah, the homeowner can do that automatically on the app. They can skip both mode shift and set point temperature shift. So, you know, say if you want to ramp up from noon to 3, utilizing that excess solar power, you can superheat the water heater up to 140 degrees. And then with the mixing valve, it always output at, 120 or 125, whatever you set it at. So that's available now. Utilities, again, can do that. Again, if they want to control it, obviously the mixing valve has to be required.
Okay, great. Thank you. Someone asked if I could share the incentive tracking list, and I just did. It's a spreadsheet. I just put the link in there, and that tracks all of the known building electrification rebate programs that'll be coming out over the next 9 months in there.
This is somewhat new, so I mean that $440+ million will, really be able to drive the marketplace and be able to sell a lot of heat pump water heaters in the state of California.
Great. So a question about any options for a 40 or 50 gallon size using a 120 volt outlet?
Obviously the state has made itself clear that for the retrofit ready units that is going to be a market. So I'm sure that multiple manufacturers are looking at that now.
Great. Question from Wade. It says, I understand our local Home Depot removed all heat pump water heaters and sent them back to the manufacturers. Is any effort being made to keep heat pump water heaters in big box stores? Yeah,
I mean, Home Depot being our horse on the retail side, we have communication with them to let them know about California electrification, about the programs that are going on now. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg scenario. Sometimes they need to have some sales history in order to stock product. I mean, that aisle space is very valuable to them. So, we are working through that process.
Cool. Question about superheating. Is superheating the water to 140 degrees Fahrenheit heat pump only, or would it be from heat pump plus resistance?
Typically it'd just be on the heat pump side of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So obviously you want to limit, that element is there for backup, and really because we're NEA tier 4, that lower element is really disabled. So that upper element, it should be kicking on when there is a high flow of hot water going out of the tank and the heat pump is not able to kick on or keep up in production. So that also points to upsizing. So it's very important as California wants to store this energy, and rebate levels may need to be adjusted for upsizing units. That way it can maximize storage. The Midwest has done a great job of shutting water heaters off from 4 to 9 every single day with 80-gallon marathons, just on a timer. So really what it needs to do, the state of California with controls needs to do, is be able to store some of that excess solar energy during the middle part of the day and then shut it off at night, very much like what the Midwest does.
Yep. Yeah, I currently got one of these units in my basement, as I mentioned, and that's what we're doing up here in Sonoma County on Sonoma Clean Power and PG&E territory, and it's working great. Everyone gets a bath, everyone gets a shower, get the dishwasher. It's all working fantastic for a family of 4 on a 50-gallon. So it's I can attest, and it's all superheating on just purely on the heat pump mode.
Yeah, and if you can maximize that time of use rate, it really becomes a good affordable option for water heating. And then of course you can't beat the efficiency when it's only running 350 watts.
Yeah, absolutely. Question from Danny, and this might be our last question, Kevin. Really appreciate the robust interaction from everybody. A question from Danny at the Energy Commission. He was really impressed that you guys were able to get that tier 4 rating. What changes were needed in order to get that high tier 4 rating?
So if you look at the Advanced Water Heating Initiative for tier 4, you need to be under 50 decibels. So we're at 49. You need to be able to lock out that lower element. And then probably the most important, and the reason why utilities across the country really pay attention to it, is that we need to have over a 3 UEF in cold climate conditions. So, when you have cooler ambient and incoming water temperature, it needs to perform at least 300% efficiency. So that's probably the big threshold there.
Awesome. Well, that was all the questions, Kevin, and we're just about coming to the end. Really appreciate your time. Appreciate Rheem's leadership and participation in the Building Decarbonization Coalition. And thank you for everybody that attended and the usual robust conversation on these webinars. It's been great to really get a forum for dialogue around some of the critical issues and some of the new technologies coming out. So Kevin, Rheem, thank you guys very much for participating today. Any last words?
Thank you so much, Panama, for the opportunity to present Proterra on the group. So if you have any questions, certainly reach out to us. And again, more information can be had online.
Great. And as always, we'll be posting both a recording of this presentation and the slides on our members portal. So go to buildingdecarb.org/join if you're not a member. Otherwise, hop into the member portal if you want to see this video or check out any of the slides. With that, we're going to leave you all. Keep up the good work out there, everybody. Keep on decarbonizing, and we'll see you next time on the next Building Decarbonization Coalition Presents webinar series. Take it easy, everybody.